Welcome back. Today we are going to discuss July month based current affairs questions. This is part 1. In this part 1 we are going to discuss 20 questions. These 20 questions covers various topics such as polity, economics, environment, governance, geography, physical and economy, and science and technology. We are going to discuss these 6 topics in detail by taking up questions based on the current affairs of July. So let's start with question number 1. Arrange the following sectors according to the weightage given in the industrial production index of industrial production IIP. This IIP was in news in 2020 July. Why it is in news? Because India's 8 core sector has faced slump in their growth, that is contracted. Why they have contracted we all know, because of lockdown. What lockdown has done? Shortage of labors. So only shortage of labors? No. Lockdown has also impacted the demand in the market. Because why demand was reduced in the market? Because with public very less amount of money is in the hand. How we can say? Because 91% of the public in India works in informal sector, means their wages are very low. So this is about the why it has contracted. But what is about this? This is IIP. This is an index released by whom? Ministry of Statistics. And under Ministry of Statistics there is one organization called Central Statistical Office. This will release this index every month. Okay, you have came to know that about this index theoretically. And this index, in this index there are many other productions and goods, but around 40% of weightage in this index goes to 8 sectors. These are the core 8 sectors. You should know what are these core 8 sectors. What are these core 8 sectors? 1. Petroleum and refinery production. 2. Coal production. 3. Steel production. 4. Electricity production. 5. Fertilizer production. 6. Cement production. Natural gas production. 7. 8. Crude oil production. So these are the 8 sectors that you should remember. These 8 sectors has given around 40% of weightage in IIP. Okay, you have came to know that they have given 40, but it's not like 40 by 8 each got 5% weightage. No, some sectors has given high weightage, some sectors have given low weightage in these 8 also. So what you should know which sector has got the highest weightage, which sector got second highest, third highest, fourth highest, fifth highest, and sixth, seventh, eighth. So what is the highest? First highest, petroleum and refinery. Second, electricity generation. Third, steel production. Fourth, coal production. Fifth, crude oil production. Sixth, natural gas. Seventh, cement production. Eighth, fertilizer production. So you should remember all 8 in the sequence. UPSC may ask like this. They may ask to arrange in according to their weightage in increasing order or decreasing order. So here industrial index, there are two types. One IIP, another is purchasing managers index. Okay, this IIP is for manufacturing units or industrial production or goods production, intermediate goods or any other goods. This is for manufacturing and services. This covers broad items, though it is narrower in coverage, but it is dynamic in nature. This gives prevailing trends in manufacturing and service sectors. This is released by whom? ISM. And what about this? CSO, Central Statistical Organization. So this much you should know about index of industrial production. If you know, you can solve any type of questions. So answer, arrange. So first is given, electricity is the second, and steel is third in sequence order. Coal production is fourth, and petroleum and refinery production is first. So now you can arrange very easily. 4, 1, 2, 3. Answer is B. Now come to the second question. With reference to the REDD place, which of the following statements is or correct? So what is this REDD place? R means reducing, E means emission from deforestation and forest degradation. Okay, this is the meaning. Reducing emission from deforestation and forest degradation is the meaning of this REDD place. Means what? It's talking about deforestation. If you want to know about deforestation and forest degradation, which report you have to see? It's Global Forest Resource Assessment. Who will release this report? FAO. What is FAO? Food and Agriculture Organization. This report you have to see. Okay, coming back to this question, it's talking about REDD place. So first, the negotiation of this REDD took place in 2005 by UNFCCC. Before this negotiation took part in 13th COP, the reason for this negotiation or talks is coalition for rainforest nations. These organizations, international organizations, adapted REDD place mechanism already. These international governments, has led this concept REDD place in 13 COP. Like that, this concept came at UN related organization, that is UNFCCC. Though in 2005 the negotiation started, first significant substantial decisions were taken at Bali Summit. So it is known as Bali Action Plan. Okay, now we came to know about REDD plus, how it has formed, or reasons for taking up this mechanism. But objectives, what are the objectives? Objective is mitigate climate change by reducing emission from deforestation and forest degradation. That's it. Single point object. Okay, all this is fine, but how this mechanism is being implemented in the world? It is being implemented in the world in two ways. One by World Bank. World Bank has started Forest Carbon Partnership Facility, and UNREDD program. It is started jointly by UNDP plus UNEP plus FAO. These two programs, there are many other programs, but these two are main programs which led REDD plus successfully in developing countries. Here you have to understand that this REDD is for the developing countries, not for the developed countries. Now the question is whether this has achieved its object or not. Its objective is to reduce deforestation and degradation of forest. For that you have to read this report, Global Forest Resource Assessment, released by FAO. Okay, this assessment of 2020 says that from 1990 to 2020 there is a reduce in loss of forest rate. From 2090 to 2000, deforestation rate was 7.4, I guess, around 7.4. From 2000 to 2010 it was 5.5%, around 5.5%. From 2010 to 2020 it was 4.7, I guess, 4.7 or 4.2. Okay, so for this reduction in forest loss, the role of REDD is huge. So now let's take the options. The Coalition for Rainforest Nation created REDD plus mechanism, correct? The substantial decision on REDD plus was adopted at COP13, which is known as Bali Action Plan, correct? So answer is C. But here you have to understand that this REDD play is for the developing countries, not for the developed countries. And for implementing these, there are two programs were launched. What are these two programs? Forest Carbon Partnership Facility and UNREDD program. That's it. Come to the third question. Which of the following committee recommended the privatization of railways? TSR Subramanian Committee, DB Shekatkar Committee, Naresh Chandra Committee, Bibek Debroy Committee. First of all, this question itself is wrong because Bibek Debroy Committee never recommended privatization of Indian Railways. This committee has recommended participation of private sector in Indian railway projects. It doesn't mean that it is privatization. So this question itself is wrong. I have wantonly framed this question to make you remember that privatization of railways were not taken by the government. Government is just encouraging private players to take part in railways projects. So, if at all, why these talks, why private player should be allowed in Indian Railways projects? Because operating ratio. What is this operating ratio? I'll give you example. If railways getting revenue means 100 rupees revenue, they are spending 94 rupees for salaries and pensions and on non-revenue expenditure. So railways is left with just 6 rupees for improving infrastructure of railways, which is very less. For capital expenditure. So what railways are doing for capital expenditure? They are mainly financing through extra budgetary resources and central government budgetary support and through own internal resources. So through extra budgetary resources, railways are borrowing money, 58% of money. Through budgetary support, 33%. Through own internal resources, just 8 to 9%. This is very meager, very less. This is a main problem. But what is the reason for these main problems of railways, Indian railways? First reason is decline in the share of total freight tariff. In 1950, railway share in total freight service was 89%. In 2011, it came down to 30%. Means automatically their revenue will be affected. Second one is this freight basket is highly limited. Mostly it is dependent on transportation of coal. You can see all these goods train will transport either coal or oil. So third main reason is railways first class is losing their market to airlines, because if you want to travel railways first class from Delhi to Bangalore, you have to pay around 7K to 8K. In airways, you have to pay 5K to 6K. That these will take you around 30 to 38 hours. Here it will take you 3 hours at max. So railways losing their market. And the fourth one is centralized decision making. And fifth one is management of various non remunerative activities. Means what? Railway hospitals, railway schools, railway canteens, railway grounds, other railway institutions. This is increasing railways' financial burden. So these are the 5 major issues which is impacting railway revenues. So the Debroy committees like Debroy has recommended involvement of private players in railway projects to increase the transparency, to increase efficiency, to increase revenue revenues or restructure revenue model, to increase investments in railways and etc. So, but what about TSR Subramanian Committee? It is education reforms. This one is defense reforms. This one is civil aviation reforms. So this is about the third question. Come to the fourth one. Which of the following is or correctly matched weapons and developed by Pinaka ammunition, DRDO, Astra missiles, DRDO and France, long range land attack cruise missile, Russia and DRDO. Answer is B, because Astra is DRDO and this one is also DRDO. Here you should know, whenever you are reading about missiles, you should know the name of missile, range of missile and manufacturer of missile or developer of missile. These 3 things definitely you should know. UPSC will ask these 3 things in examination. Example, Agni or Trishul or Prithvi or Dhanush. Akash, Astra, etc. About all these missiles you have to know. In Agni there are 5 variants. You should know about all 5 variants. So this is all about the missiles. Come to the 5th question. This is 5th. Consider the following passage. See, before going into this passage, I want to explain you one thing. If in news, if you see some species were found after 136 years, some species has found after 129 years or something after 200 years, like that, then definitely you should remember what is this species name, because in 2017, 18 and 16 UPSC has asked about the species because they are very rare. So come to this question now. These species has found after 136 years at Tista River, Valley region. The species is known as dancing ladies. The species has been enlisted as endangered on the IUCN Red List. Which of the following plant species is discussed in the above passage? Keelback, Globa andersoni, strip hair streak, elusive prince. See, answer is B. And it is found in Sikkim. Keelback is found in Assam. This is a snake. Recently, they found the snake after 129 years. So you have to read about this keelback also. What about these two options? These two options are butterfly, rarest butterflies found in Arunachal Pradesh. You may think why we should read about these species. UPSC, why they will ask about this type of species or this type of questions? Because the prelims conducted not only for the civil service examination, it is also conducted for Indian Forest Service. So they will ask these type of questions very frequently. You should be ready to answer. And some extra information. Keelback is found in Poba Reserve Forest. Okay. This forest is important because NH15 passes through this forest. So in my past videos I have discussed that through Bandipur which national highway will pass through? 766. Through Wayanad, 766. Through Pench, 44. Through Pana, 44. Through Satyamangalam, 938 NH. It's 948. Mudumalai, 181 NH 181. So you definitely have to remember all these things, because Poba Forest Reserve Forest is in news, through which NH15 passes. So this is fifth question. Now we have to take sixth question. With reference to the special liquidity scheme, which of the following statement is or correct? So special liquidity scheme is given to whom? NBFCs. So or HFCs. It is part of Atma Nirbhar Abhiyan. Okay. Why special liquidity scheme is given to NBFC? Very simple. If something is given specially to NBFC, then this NBFC should be very important, significant for the economy. So what are those significance? NBFC significance are very important for mains also. Mobilization of funds or resources, provision for long-term credit, development of financial market, capital formation, employment generation, and attracting foreign grants. These are the main significance of NBFCs, because through NBFCs MSMEs has grown, automobile sector has grown, marginalized people got loan, so the standard of living has grown, and NBFCs has helped lot of self-help groups, and they lend to infrastructures, and they play a role in reducing burden on banks and etc. So if government is giving special liquidity scheme, means NBFC's situation is bad. Why NBFC's situation is bad? What are the problems they are facing? The problems they are facing is asset and liability mismatch and liquidity crisis and borrowing cost. For NBFCs, if they want to borrow, the borrowing cost, interest rates are very high, and capital advocacy is a issue, and bearish commercial paper market is an issue for NBFCs. So these are the main issues that NBFCs are facing. This liquidity crisis they are facing because this is a recent issue because of IL&FS crisis. This is the biggest NBFC. Okay, they went almost bankrupt. Why they went bankrupt? Because asset and liquidity mismatch. How it got mismatch, I'll tell you. IL&FS, these NBFCs lent for the infrastructure projects, but it raised money, means borrows money for shorter term. These infrastructure projects are for longer term. So whatever the money they got here, they lend to these infrastructure companies, but these infrastructure companies will pay after many years. But because they are borrowing for shorter term, they have to give it back within a short period of time, but they don't have money. All money got stuck in these long projects of infrastructure, like how this IL&FS company had went bankrupt almost. So this is a classic example of IL&FS, classic example of for liquidity crisis and asset and liquidity mismatch, liability mismatch, asset and liability mismatch. Because they have liquidity, because they have asset and liability mismatch, means what? They have high liability. Okay, and because of high liability, liquidity crisis is there. Take example, you are a human. Okay, your asset, total asset worth is 100 rupees, but you have liability to pay back is 200 rupees. Okay, so for 100 rupees you don't know how you will pay to the lender. Now you will go to another human and you ask, give me 100 rupees, I have to pay back my assets, or I have to invest somewhere. You will say some story, you will cook up and you will say, this guy will inquire about you. Okay, he will come to know that you have 200 rupees liability and your assets are just 100 rupees. So what he will do? Either he will reject, no, I will not give you any loan. So at the time liquidity crisis will have, you will face a liquidity crisis. Otherwise he will give loan for the very high interest rates. Why he will give very high interest rates? To overcome the risk of giving you loan. When he gives you loan for very high interest, means what? Borrowing cost of yours went very high, which is not good for you, because paying back interest rates are very burden on you, will be high burden on you. So like this, even NBFCs are facing issue. That's why government has came up with special liquidity scheme. In this scheme, the special purpose vehicle company will raise money by selling bonds. For this, the guarantor is government. Okay, guarantor is government, means if this special purpose vehicle goes bankrupt, and government will safeguard this company and will repay you money back. Whatever the money this SPV gets, it will give to NBFCs to safeguard NBFCs because of their significance in the Indian economy. Just now I have explained. So sixth question, this one, and the objective of the scheme is to manage stress assets of NBFCs, correct. The scheme will be administered by the Ministry of Finance, correct. Under the scheme, the securities issued by the SPV, special purpose, will be purchased by the RBI only, correct. So answer is D. So now come to the seventh question. Consider the following statements regarding Attorney General of India. See, Attorney General of India means Article 76, you should remember. The Constitution, Article 76, Constitution through Article 76 provides for the office of Attorney General of India. So qualifications of Attorney General of India is what? He should be a person can be appointed for the Supreme Court as a judge. Means what are the qualifications for the Supreme Court judge should have, he also should have. Some main points that you have to remember about the Attorney General of India is Constitution does not provide any removal process. Constitution does not provide fixed term of office. Constitution does not fix his remuneration. Fixed by whom? President. Apart from this, you should know some other important points, that he can take part proceedings in both the houses of the parliament, but he will not have any voting right. Another one is he can enjoy all the privileges and immunities that member of parliament has, and he is not fall in government servant category, and he should not advise against government of India. So these 4 points you should remember. Remaining functions of Attorney General of India everybody will remember, but these first I have discussed 3 points, now 4 points, these 7 points you should remember. So let's take the options. Attorney General is appointed by the Parliament, wrong. Remove one. Answer is B. Who appoints president? So come to the 8th question. Which of the following committee has constituted for the reforms in criminal law? In first case, why criminal law should be reformed? Society is, all these things are very important even for mains. Dynamic. The values and ethics of society changes according to the time. Example, 50 years back, living as transgender and lesbian is not accepted by the society. Now, as education grew, people got educated, now they accept LGBT community. That's why section 377 was quashed by the Supreme Court as it is unconstitutional. So first point is why reforms are needed. Society is dynamic. Second one is high rate of cases pendency. How much? Around 3.5 million. In this, 87.3% in subordinate courts, around 12% in high courts, around 60,000 in Supreme Court. And the third point is some laws like section 197 which says only with the government permission a police officer or police official can be prosecuted. So these type of sections safeguard police from being prosecuted. From 2000 to 2018, there are 1727 or 21 police custody deaths, but only 26 police personnels are convicted. So there is need of police reforms. And not only police, even political leaders for conviction rate among political leaders is just 6%, whereas national conviction rate, average conviction rate is 46%. So there is need of reforms in criminal laws. For the various reasons, other reasons, there is need of criminal laws. So like this, if UPSC asks question based on reforms in criminal laws, then definitely you should write all these things. And now Ranbir Singh committee, Malimat committee, Madhav Menon committee, all are constituted for the reforms in criminal law. So answer is D. One more thing, in India criminal law is governed by IPC, CRPC, Indian Evidence Act and others. But these three acts are governed by, are very important. Come to the ninth question. The Constitution prescribes that the total number of Council of Ministers in the state shall not exceed 15% of the total number of members of the Legislative Assembly. It prescribes or not? Yes. 164 subclass 1A. The Constitution provides that a person can remain as a chief minister without being a member of state legislature for a period of 6 months. Yes, 164 subclass 3, I guess. Subclass 3 or subclass 4? 3. You can cross check. So answer is C. For the second point, which is a classic example is Maharashtra CM right now, and Mamata Banerjee, who lost her seat in Nandigram. Still she took oath as CM of the state. She can be CM for the next 6 months. Within these 6 months, she have to become member of the Legislative Assembly or Legislative Council. Because in West Bengal there is no Legislative Council, she have to become member of the Legislative Assembly. But why this question is in news? Because in 2020 July, in Madhya Pradesh, the CM has expanded Council of Ministers, which crossed this 15% limit set by the Constitution. But question is whether the Constitution prescribed this 15% limit from this provision is there in the Constitution from the commencement of the Constitution or not, that is from the 1950 or not. No, it is not there. To 91st Constitutional Amendment Act, this provision was inserted. So if UPSC asks in the original Constitution prescribes the total number, then it is wrong, because original Constitution does not prescribe. Through 91st Constitutional Amendment Act, this provision was added in the Constitution. So this is how you have to read, you have to remember. Now 10th question. Arrange the following places from west to east. See, this is imagine this is Uttarakhand. Okay, Limpiadura is here, and Kalpani is here, Kalapani, and Lipu Lake is here, and here Bihar will be there. In Bihar, Susta is there. All these things are border contention issues with the India and Nepal. Recently, in July 2020, Nepal redrawn its map, where it incorporated Kalpani, Lipu Lake, Limpiadura into its map, map. India has objected it. Because it is in news, you should even read about Sagauli Treaty and Kali River and Gandok River So this is what about 10th question. So we have to arrange from west to east, right? So first is 3, second 2 and 3 and 4. So 3, 1, 2, 4. The answer is C. if you want me to explain about Sugauli Treaty also I can. Point is, Nepal says that Sugauli Treaty, according to Sugauli Treaty, these three places falls under its own territory, because Sugauli Treaty says that whatever the territory is left to the Kali river belongs to the Nepal. So Nepal claims that the Kali river rises in the higher reaches of Kalapani. So Kalapani, Lipu Lake and Limpayadura falls under its territory. Whereas India claims that Kali river origin is unclear, and the second it says that these places are under India's control since Mughal. These places are province of Mughal. And third, India claims that even China in 2015 agreed that this territory belongs to India. So this is about the Sugauli Treaty and India's counterclaim. Come to the 11th question now. It's about accelerated Vignan. See, accelerated Vignan, in name itself it says that Vignan means scientific knowledge. So it encourages the scientific research and prepares scientific manpower, correct. It launched by the Science and Engineering Research Board, correct. This board is statutory body, correct. Answer is D. But question is, if UPSC have to ask this question, it will ask directly like this only. There is no way they will twist and ask. So definitely you should know what is accelerated Vignan. But if in mains if UPSC want to ask, definitely you should know one thing about Global Innovation Index. India ranks 48 out of 131. So 48 is very low, because India is aspiring to become one of the largest economy in the world, and also manufacturing hub of the world. That's why it has started Make in India mission. Further research, scientific research and development is very important. Further, the government has to improve this scientific research and development. Government has taken some steps. They are SERB, Distinguished Investigator Award. Second one, Teacher Associates for Research and Excellency, TARE. Third one, Million Minds Augmenting National Aspiration Knowledge, MANAK, etc. And fourth one, you can write Quantum Information Science and Technology. So if you remember at least 4-5 initiatives, then you can easily write the mains answer also. So come to the 12th question. United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea provides the different legal status to different maritime zones. Which of the following statements are correct? This UNCLOS created two institutions. One, International Tribunal for Law of Sea, International Seabed Authority, and Commission on Limits of the Continental Shelf. This is the only, you have to remember, only international convention which stipulates a framework for state jurisdiction in maritime space. Okay, what is that? See, territorial sea. You should understand. If this is India, take. Okay, if this is known as base area. From here to 12 nautical miles is known as territorial area. Here to 24 nautical miles is known as contiguous area. Here to 200 nautical miles is known as exclusive economic zone. In this area, Indian government will have control on land, air space and water space. It can punish anyone. So limited on, it cannot, its power is restricted only for the innocent passage. That's it. Otherwise it can punish anyone. Here in this contiguous area, it can punish for the violation of ocean surface and floor, but not, it don't have any power to punish for air and space violation. Here India will have right for exploration of minerals, oil, etc., or living animals, anything, but it does not have any power to prohibit or limit freedom of navigation or overflight. This is a difference you should know. That's it. So coming to this question, UNCLOS is the only international convention which stipulates a framework for state jurisdiction in maritime space, correct? It creates international seabed authority, correct? Answer is C. So come to now 13th question. Consider the following statement regarding Namami Ganga program. National Ganga program has a twin objective. 1. Abatement of pollution. 2. Conservation and rejuvenation of river Ganga. Okay, this is known as, this is to achieve Nirmal Dhara, means unpolluted river flow. This is to achieve Aviral Dhara, means continuous flow. This is also known as environment flow. So what is environment flow? During November to March, you should maintain 20% of river volume minimum. From in March, April, May and October, you should maintain 25% of river volume minimum. From June to September, you should maintain 30% of river volume minimum. Why you have to maintain? To sustain biodiversity, that is living organisms, non-living organisms, everything. So Namami Ganga is implemented by National Mission for Clean Ganga. It is an implementing arm of whom? National Ganga Council. The chairman of National Ganga Council is PM or Jal Shakti Minister? It is PM. This National Ganga Council fall under Environment Protection Act, not under Water Act. Don't get confused in examination, so better it should, if you are clear now itself, then you will not get confused in examination. So this is about this question. Now let's see the option. Its objective is effective abatement, yes, abatement of pollution and conservation and rejuvenation of Ganga. This is Nirmal Dhara, just now I explained. This part is Aviral Dhara, E flow. So for this answer is C. So come to the 14th question. Which of the following schemes are introduced to tackle malnutrition? What is malnutrition? Deficiency or excess or imbalance in intake of nutrients is known as a malnutrition condition. Because deficiency, excess or imbalance, it covers wasting, stunting, underweight, overweight, obesity, and etc. All these fall under the malnutrition. Still, why India still suffering from malnutrition is the biggest question. First question is monoculture agriculture practices, because majority of the majority crops are wheat, rice, sugarcane, etc. And second is changing food patterns. Third, poverty. Next one is lack of sanitation and drinking water. Next one is migration. Due to migration, what happens? I already explained in last videos. They will be excluded from the welfare schemes like National Food Security Act. Though now government has bought portability. And another one is gender injustice and lacuna in policy level, etc. These are the main reasons, because of these reasons for the existence of malnutrition in India still. To tackle these malnutrition, what government has done? Brought integrated child development service, correct. National health mission, correct. Midday meal scheme, correct, from up to 8th class. Indira Gandhi Matritva Sahyog Yojana, correct. So answer is D. Come to the 15th question. Consider the following passage. For the growth of these crops, warm temperate climate is essential. They can grow in wide range of temperatures, that is 20 to 30 degrees centigrade. They are adaptable and tolerable towards climate shocks. Compared to other crops, they require below 35 centimeter of rainfall. Just this information is enough to answer this question. Millets, wheat, rice, sugarcane. Which is the correct answer here? Millets, because wheat need more than 35 centimeters. Rice also need more than 35 centimeters. More than what? It needs lot of water. Around for 1 kg rice to produce, you need 3500 liters of water for rice. Even sugarcane is a water intensive crop. All three are water intensive. This is alone odd one, so answer is A. So come to the 16th one. Integrated Disease Surveillance Project was launched by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in assistance with WHO, wrong. Ministry of Child Development and Women in assistance with World Bank, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in assistance with World Bank. It is correct. So answer is C here. But why this question now? Because COVID-19. Because of COVID-19, it is very much in news. Okay, this works under National Center for Disease Control. UPSC may ask in examination about the achievements of this program or objectives of this program in mains. So if they ask about achievement, you should be knowing that at least 3-4 achievements like surveillance units has been established in all states and district quarters, and center surveillance unit is established and integrated. CSU is established and integrated in the National Center for Disease Control. And third one is IT network has been established by connecting all states and district headquarters and premier institutions in the country for data entry, training, and video conference and outbreak discussions. Weekly outbreaks report will be shared by the Central Surveillance Unit to all shareholders including PMO. These are the some achievements they have made and able to contain some diseases like infections like swine flu, avian flu, etc. This program has been established under the assistance of World Bank in 2004. If you know this much, then it's enough. And for this answer is C. Come to the 17th question. Which of the following states share border with the China? Because China and India had clash, and India imposed taken some economic measures like banning Chinese apps and reforming its foreign investment policy, etc. So, which are the states that border with China? Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Sikkim. Answer is A. Not Jammu Kashmir, because now this is Ladakh. This is occupied by. This is Jammu and Kashmir. Here the China is there. So this is Pakistan. So Jammu Kashmir, it doesn't have any connection with China now. This is Union Territory. This is Union Territory. Moreover, they have asked about the states, not Union Territory. They means it's me. So answer is A. So now 18th question, consider the following statements. Active pharmaceutical ingredients is biological active component of a drug product. Correct. India is one of the largest exporter of. Wrong, because India imports its around 75 to 80% of its API from China. Though India is the largest manufacturer of pharmaceutical products, drugs, but it imports API from the China. So to reduce these dependency, India has started two schemes: bulk drug park scheme. Another one is production link incentives. Means if you increase your size, means your production level, then you will get 6 to 7%, 5 to 6% incentive. Here the central government will give 1,000 crores per bulk drug park to the state government. So answer for this question is A. Come to the 19th one. Which of the following statement is correct regarding KAZI 16F? KAZI means Kaziranga National Park. 106F means this is about only golden tiger. The only golden tiger in India found in Kaziranga National Park. Answer is A. It is wrong. All these are wrong. These are just to make you confused, because if you observe that exoplanets will be denoted by using numerics and alphabets. So this is a word type questions. In these word type questions you should be very careful. If you know only you have to attempt, otherwise you should leave. You cannot guess at all, because here also because COVID is in news, I have given this option to make you understand that how UPSC will make you confused in examination, because this exam is UPSC is conducting this examination to make you fail, not to pass. And it is a lake discovered in Mars planet by Curiosity rover. It is also in very much in news. So 19th one answer is A. So 28th last question. Which is the first industrialized country to phase out usage of coal and nuclear power? It's France, Germany, Canada, United Kingdom. It's Germany. They have decided to phase out this coal and nuclear power by 2038. Okay. What about India? India has brought coal commercial bill to increase its production, because we are dependent more on imports, which cost India around 1 lakh crore every year. Okay, by increasing privatization, production will increase, so the revenues for states will also increase. States may get every year 7,000 crores, 7,000 to 8,000 crores. Okay, so if coal production increases, the dependency on the coal also will increase. So at present our electricity generation depends on coal. The total dependency is 55 to 60%. So if the coal production increases, this dependency will increase, keep increasing. The industrial mafia or industrial lobbying will never allow India to venture into non-renewable resource energy, that is solar, wind, geothermal, etc. Why? Because if India goes into this, then they are going to invest in the coal, then how they will recover their profits? So they will oppose these initiatives. So India can never become a country like Germany. India, if doesn't become country like Germany, then it will be difficult for India to achieve intended nationally determined contribution. which was pledged by India in Paris summit in 2015. To reduce emission intensity of its GDP by 33 to 35% by 2030. This is the first goal. The second goal is to absorb 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon. Fourth one is to electricity generation. 40% of total electricity generation should come from the non-renewable energy. So India may not achieve these two. So we hope that India follows Germany path, and India also phase out using coal and nuclear power. India not only establishing nuclear power, it also sponsoring the projects. Example, India and Russia project in Bangladesh, ROPAR project. So these are the 20 questions for today. I'm not going to discuss this. This is 21st. Tomorrow I'll discuss 21st to 40 questions. So that's it for today. Thank you. One more thing before signing off. Whatever I am discussing, the main points, you should take notes. Otherwise, you may forget. At the end of 12 months, current affairs discussion, you may forget all the facts. So it's better to take the notes. Thank you.